Welcome back to College Football Addiction. Drake Cetole locked on Big 12, and we are going to rant tonight. Drake, ESPN has certainly fallen under fire right now, and it's even some personalities at ESPN are cautiously, because they'll just fire you if you don't toe the company line, calling out some of their employees, calling out some of what's going on at the four-letter network. Let's just open it up wide open forum to start us off talking about ESPN with all this college playoff committee and bowl and playoff controversy.
ESPN is a failing network, and they have endlessly killed the sports that we love. So here's a great example of that. MLB down. Viewership so far down the last 10, 15 years that youth baseball in the last 5 is down 20% in participation. They're killing the sport at the top level. People are stopping to watch it. It's becoming even more boring the more ESPN has control over it. So much so that kids don't want to play it anymore. The NBA, 42% down in the last decade. This year, historic lows in viewership. Guess who has the tightest grip on the NBA? You watch it on Christmas Day? That's ESPN. The more they take major products under their wing, they destroy them. And now the college football is under their wing, but not just college football, the SEC namely. They're creating yet another major entity to destroy the whole. NFL, awesome. Great product. People watch it. Legendary numbers year in and year out. The Super Bowl grows and grows no matter who's in it. Small market Kansas City team wins it, and people from all over the world watch. Why? ESPN has no control over the National Football League. None whatsoever. So that product has thrived, whereas the greed of those 4 letters poured into college football has killed anything that we love about the amateurism of the sport. It has created the conference realignment that's taken your favorite matchup, your favorite team, completely out of the national equation. It has created these pundits like Kirk Herbstreit who sit in front of a microphone or in front of a camera with a microphone and say, we should stop talking about wins. It creates sellouts, schmucks who all they want is the money that's in their pocket. They want to, I said this the other day, they want to double click the side of their phone, the facial recognition, and then bam, the debit card shows up. And as long as that debit card's got money in it from ESPN, they'll continue to say whatever that machine wants. And the SEC is the new MLB. It's the new NBA. It's the new project for ESPN. And the more they have a grip over it, the closer we are to the death of what we know and love about college football.
Yeah, it's so funny to watch, too, because obviously the SEC is very much in bed with them. And I don't know if you saw the recent Greg Sankey interview with Dellinger, but he literally said when we were setting up this playoff system, we were setting it up in 2019 and 2020 for 4 equitable conferences. We didn't know that, and he was obviously, whining and moaning about Bama being left out and this, that, and the other. We said we didn't know that this would be our situation. And then the very next offseason, he literally went and grabbed the 2 biggest brands available in Texas and Oklahoma and changed the sport in a massive way, like you just talked about with realignment, which we love realignment. Like it's fun for us. It gets great views and all these other things. But you can't have on one hand, hey, we made this playoff for this, that, and the other, and then literally ruin that by your greed. And that's exactly what it is. ESPN is so far in bed with the SEC and is using that as their money driving force, these $1 billion TV contracts that they have signed, and they're all complicit. You mentioned Herbstreit. They all toed the, Dinich, obviously. They literally made a college football playoff reporter who used to work for the ACC. They realized that's not a good investment, so they moved her over to report for only the college football playoff, and then she opines on, I think this is what may happen next. And then we see that every week from the committee. So I don't know. It just seems like such an incestuous, such an in-bed relationship that is not going anywhere until they just kill it.
How about Tuesday nights during the fall, the late half of the football season? What channel do you turn on to watch the college football playoff selection?
ESPN every time.
Oh, there it is. That is the grip they have on this. They're broadcasting every little piece of this. And what's insane to me even more so, these big round 2 matchups, those are the ones exclusively on ESPN. What they want to create is the better, the bigger. How do we get the best of the pro? So TNT, okay, they're going to have a couple of these matchups that are blowouts in round one. They won't get that much viewership. Oh, round two, we'll make sure we get Ohio State and Oregon. That's going to be the big one. And so while Fox may have carried that game earlier this year, or CBS or NBC or whoever, our turn. We're going to get this one today. It is all intentional. So what I want to be noted, and this is for the SEC too, Greg Sankey, he is not saying these things just to blow hot air up your skirt. There is intentionality here. There is an end goal for the SEC, whether that is a super conference with the Big Ten, whether that is their own college football playoff, they do it themselves. There's something going on where he wants, no, it's not a conspiracy. He has his own interest, best interest right now, paramount above all else. College football, it means nothing to him. Money is where he wants to go. For ESPN, it's the same thing. This rhetoric that you're hearing, everything they do is very intentional. What they're trying to get you to buy into and build this whole cohort of SEC mafia of general fans that they want everybody else to, oh, you're stupid if you don't think the SEC is number one and our baby. That is all headed toward one direction. And that direction is taking out the ACC, taking out the Big 12, taking out Maryland or Illinois or Purdue or Boise State and Oklahoma in 2007. That will become an impossibility in the future because ESPN wants to create what the NFL has, 30 teams, 32 teams. They want to create a professional aspect of college football that will kill what we know about the game. And the reason they're going to do it is for money. And guess what? They had that with the MLB, 30 teams. They had that with the NBA, and they completely ruined those products. The second they got their paws on it, gone. So CBS, when SEC was on CBS, felt like the spirit of the game was withheld. We had, with NBC has the NFL on Sunday nights. The spirit of the game was upheld. Today, it's about money and solely money. And that was the one thing we kept so long out of college football. Today, it's not. So ESPN, they have control of the entire committee. They're athletic directors. How about this, TJ? The guy who runs the committee is the athletic director at Michigan. You understand ESPN pays Michigan money every time Ohio State wins a playoff game. That's who, that every time, I don't care if he's the athletic director of Michigan, that guy, Ward Manuel, is looking toward Ohio State and saying, gosh, I hope you win, because the second you do, we are paid money. Our conference gets money, and that goes in my pocket. So who do you think that guy wants to be in the college football playoff? Not Boise State, not Arizona State, not BYU, but schools that put money in his pocket. They are inside traders who are running this game, and those four letters are at the very forefront of it.
How bad is this? And let me back up. As somebody who, now I like SEC football. I went to Georgia, Alabama this year. I like watching football, but I also loved Louisville versus Virginia Tech on a Thursday night. I also love watching the Big Ten. The Big 12 was phenomenal this year, and for a long time always has been. I graduated from Liberty. I watched all 12 Liberty games that were played this year. I like college football, and so I'm not anti. I don't not watch the SEC games. I like all of it. But how, all that said, as a guy who does like all of it, how bad is this for the ACC, the Big 12, part of the Big 10, and then certainly everybody beneath it?
Well, we're expediting the destruction of not just the Big 12 or the ACC, but the Big 10 too, and even the back end of the SEC. You think that ultimately the goal is to have Vanderbilt in a power conference, Arkansas, Mississippi State? There are schools that are taking pieces of the pie, and Greg Sankey's going, shoot, we're winning national championships, and we have to give Arkansas this much of the purse. That's completely pointless. It's a brand that doesn't matter for them. They'd much rather have Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan be in that conversation. What we're hurtling towards, the end goal here, is to create the most profitable product there is. And what that picture looks like is 30, 32 of the top schools in the country. Maybe Utah or BYU or Oklahoma State can be included in that ultimately, but TCU probably isn't. The Cincinnatis and the Houstons of the world, they're probably not. And in that day and age, again, you've created a professional product that at some point gets old. I get tired of watching Ohio State and Georgia play year in and year out in the college football playoff. And you might be thinking, no, you don't get tired of that. We love competition. But no, after about 6 years of that same Alabama-Clemson matchup, we were begging for Cincinnati to get into that college football playoff just for something different. And I'm telling you, there are enough casual fans that are turning the TV on. That's who pushes this whole deal. The diehards don't. If they did, the Big 12 would be right up there with the best of them. It's the casual fan who goes, oh, number 6 against number 4, I'll turn it on and watch that. It's that kind of fan that's bringing these ratings in for ESPN. And that's the kind of fan that one day will go, this is the 6th year in a row I've seen Georgia play Ohio State. Okay. And when that day comes, you're looking at the same MLB product where when the Yankees play the Dodgers and we're going to get all-star historic ratings, people didn't watch like we thought they would. Or over in the NBA, the Lakers are playing Christmas Day against the Mavericks and Luka Doncic. People are going to watch. You kind of kill. We got bored of that too. They will get bored of college football the more you cut it down, and that's what's happening right now.
The other side of this is that there are some prominent figures speaking up. I don't really know what they do to impact things. People like Ari Wasserman at On3, Tim Brando, legendary voice, Nicole Auerbach of The Athletic, Josh Pate even has kind of spoken about this in a very negative way, saying, no, this isn't necessarily the right way that this should be going. I don't know that those voices do anything or change anything, but at least there's some adults in the room that are saying, pump the brakes just a little bit on what's going on.
Yeah, TJ, I would include TJ Pittenger in that list of names. And here is the problem: as you mentioned, adults in the room. They're not in the room. They're not in the room. The doors have closed. And Josh Pate or Ari Wasserman, they're sitting right outside, and they will continue to be outside of that room as long as they speak out against Pharaoh, as long as they speak out against Caesar. When they are not buying into the power, when they have not sold their soul, like a Kirk Herbstreit, who is he has become the mouthpiece for this whole deal, and he knows it. He shows up to work the same way Stephen A. does. They say what they're told to say. They get their paycheck. They go home and hang out with their families, and they have no idea. They probably have an idea, but they don't care how they're truly murdering a sport, or at least how we know it. So, TJ, yeah, I love Josh Pate. I love listening to his content, and he plays a pretty good down the middle of saying, look, we know the SEC is the best product in college football. We understand that, but here's how we're over glorifying it. But that guy, as soon as he gets to, here's how as soon as he hits the but, he's out of the room. They kick him out. They say, we don't need you anymore. And instead, it's a small cohort of people who are running a network that wants to push a narrative that the actual college football fans will never be included in because they won't promote the machine.
You mentioned some of those other places. It does feel like North Korea there, I'm sure, at Bristol. So,
that's great. What a comparison.
Say that and get out of here. Drake, where can people follow you? Where can they find your work, man?
Yeah, at LO Big 12 or at Drake C. Toll on Twitter and wherever you find your podcast with Locked On Big 12.
Appreciate you, man. It's not all doom and gloom. I'll enjoy the rest of the playoffs, but it is going to be different in the future. I appreciate you, buddy.
I'm not boycotting anybody or anything. I'm going to still watch it. I'm going to be a part of the machine in my own little way, but I hope one day we get back to the root of – I hope one day we get back to the great games between Arkansas and Texas for the national championship, like 67, and we'll never have that ever again.
Appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.